22 foods and drinks you didn't know contained gluten. Most people are familiar with foods and beverages that contain gluten, such as breads, pastries, and other items that include wheat or flour in their ingredient list. But there are some surprising sources of gluten, too, so if you have celiac disease or a gluten sensitivity or are preparing a meal for someone who fits that description, you'll want to be well prepared. For some gluten guidance, here are 22 foods and drinks you didn't know contained gluten. 1 of 22. Beer. Beer contains gluten because most types contain wheat or barley or both. However, hops, the ingredient most commonly associated with beer, do not contain gluten, which is why gluten-free beers and breweries exist. 2 of 22. Bottled salad dressing. This one surprised us because if you make dressings like Italian or ranch from scratch, there is no gluten to be found. However, some bottled brands contain wheat flour as a thickening agent or grain-derived distilled vinegar, so be sure to read the label. 3 of 22. Nomadic wafers. It's hard for Catholics with celiac disease, because most nomadic wafers contain wheat. As awareness of gluten intolerance has increased in recent years, gluten-free wafers are now available, so check with your church. 4 of 22. Cookie-flavored ice creams. Most ice cream flavors are gluten-free, but if they're cookie-themed like cookie dough and cookies and cream, they probably are. However, be sure to check the label, as some varieties are made with gluten-free mixes. 5 of 22. Barstow. Corn products such as corn, cornstarch, and corn tortillas are gluten-free, so why not cornflakes? It's a malt flavoring that comes from barley and is the source of the gluten in this famous Kellogg's cereal. 6 of 22. Couscous seeds. Rice is gluten-free and quinoa is gluten-free, but couscous contains gluten. Despite looking similar to rice and quinoa, couscous is different because it differs from semolina, which is made from durum wheat. 7 of 22. Sauce. Most of your typical Thanksgiving dinner is gluten-free, including turkey and most potato and vegetable dishes. However, the sauce is a sneaky source of gluten, as most sauces contain a flour-based roux that is used to thicken the sauce. 8 of 22. Gummy candy. When it comes to gluten in gummy candies, it's a sticky situation. Some popular varieties including Haribo gummy bears and Trolley Sour Bright Bites contain gluten, because of the wheat in the glucose syrup. Check the packaging to make sure it is intact. 9 of 22. Ice cream funnel. What exactly constitutes an ice cream cone? It depends on the variety, but mostly it contains sugar and flour. The presence of the latter means that many cones, sugar, waffles, etc., contain gluten. 10 of 22. Imitation crab. Seafood is generally gluten-free, but stick to the real thing, as imitation lobster often contains wheat starch as a binding agent. Keep this in mind the next time you order crab rangoon or sushi. 11 of 22. Licorice. Licorice root is gluten-free, but licorice candy is not. This is because black licorice, red licorice, and other flavors use wheat flour as a binding agent. 12 of 22. Unleavened bread. You might think that unleavened bread is safe for people with gluten allergies, but think again. In fact, matzo and matzo balls contain a perfect storm of oats, rye, and wheat. Look for gluten-free matzo options at the store or make your own at home. 13 of 22. Milky Way bars. You might suspect that Rice Krispies like Crunch bars or Big 100 bars or cookies, Twix and Kit Kats contain gluten, but the Milky Way is a surprise. Why is it not safe? Its ingredient list includes gluten in the form of barley malt. However, Dark Milky Way and Milky Way Caramel are both gluten-free, as are similar candies like Snickers and Three Musketeers. 14 of 22. Miso soup. Miso soup seems like a simple and non-threatening meal for people who are gluten intolerant. But miso soup is made from miso paste, which is made from fermented soybeans, often mixed with wheat or barley. Miso soup may be gluten-free, but that's not always the case. 15 of 22. Rice Krispies. Rice Krispies is not gluten-free, but it has nothing to do with rice. As with Corn Flakes, it's the malt flavoring that's to blame here. Kellogg's used to make a gluten-free version of their famous Rice Krispies, but production was discontinued due to poor sales and manufacturing limitations. 16 of 22. Smirnoff Ice. Do not freeze someone who does not tolerate gluten. Smirnoff Ice, or at least the kind made in the US and France, is derived from hard malt that contains gluten. The same goes for Smirnoff screwdriver drinks as well as similar drinks like Mike's Hard Lemonade. 17 of 22. Soy sauce. Soy sauce is one of the oldest seasonings in the world. For some 2,000 years, it has been made from a mixture of fermented soybeans, wheat, salt, and water. If you want a gluten-free version, look for a tamari-style soy sauce. 18 of 22. Taco seasoning. The combination of spices that go into taco seasoning are all gluten-free, but when you buy it in a pre-mixed package, there's a chance it will contain wheat flour. Look for the gluten-free distinction on the label or just make your own mix at home. 19 of 22. Teriyaki sauce. Keep in mind that because soy sauce contains gluten, most teriyaki sauces will also contain gluten. This may not be obvious, as soy sauce and teriyaki sauce are two separate condiments, but the latter is actually made up of the former, plus rice wine and sugar. 20 of 22. Veggie burgers. The bad news: most veggie burgers are not gluten-free due to the presence of wheat gluten. This includes brands like Boca Burger and Garden Burger. The good news: there are plenty of plant-based burgers available that are gluten-free, including those made by Quorn, Impossible, and Beyond. 21 of 22. Werther's Originals. According to Werther's website, their originals are suitable for a gluten-free diet. However, they do contain glucose syrup, which may be derived from a wheat source. Eating a few of these hard caramel candies should be fine, but they still can't be classified as completely gluten-free. 22 of 22. Worcestershire sauce. Worcestershire sauce is another sneaky source of gluten. This condiment contains malt vinegar made from barley, which is not suitable for someone with celiac disease. There are some gluten-free Worcestershire sauces available, so shop carefully and be careful when eating or drinking something that might contain Worcestershire sauce, like soups, stews, or Bloody Mary cocktails.